I was out after season 3. I didn't love the first couple of episodes. I stopped watching season 3. Season 4 came out, captured the monoculture. Running Up the Hill was all over social media. You couldn't avoid it. People were talking about how much they loved it. Forced me to go back, watch season 3. And I loved season 4. I thought it was great. And I think a show like Stranger Things is a big enough kind of cultural pillar that it can wait this long and put out a season of television 3 years after the fact and still capture people's attention. Welcome back to the Breakroom. It's been 9 years since Eleven and her friends debuted on Netflix. Is Ted Sarandos trying to tell us something? I don't know. Today we're discussing the new trailer for Stranger Things Season 5. And don't worry, we'll remind you what the hell happened in Hawkins over the last 4 seasons because, to be honest, we all kind of forgot too. I'm John Costa. Joining me in the Upside Down. He rolled a nat 20 on charisma, but a nat 1 on intelligence. It's Zach Huddleston.
Oh. Explain that reference.
Hey, and she's been working for Vecna the whole time. It's Gina Ippolito.
I go with whoever's arms are the longest and weirdest.
Yep. Hey, just a quick nerdy reminder. If you're interested in a little bit of what Zach and Gina have on their bodies right now, go to nerdriot.shop as my voice continues to.
Also, throw in the comments if we were to try to do something inspired by Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a Demogorgon graphic.
What about the Demodog? I think they're cool.
But like on top of a doghouse?
Yeah,
like a good boy?
Oh, what a sweetheart. Oh, Vecna walking is Demodog.
Oh, that would be adorable.
Yeah, check out nerdriot.shop. Grab yourself some cool merch. All right. Let's talk just very briefly about what has happened in Stranger Things up until this point, because it's been like 2 years or something like that since the since season 4 came out. Just to recap, they go to the Upside Down. Eddie Munson, played by
Joseph Quinn.
Joe Quinn, who's going to be Johnny Storm in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. He dies. We see a little bit of the repercussions of that in this trailer. Max also dies, Sadie Sink's character, but is sort of like brought back to life by Eleven's healing powers. Is sort of in a coma at this point. We see some of that in this trailer again when we'll watch it in a second here. And Vecna sort of is able to escape. So there's like this kind of like false victory moment at the end of the season. And then they all, there's like, all the characters are in disparate places. We've got like some folks in California and then kind of get out into Nevada. We've got people in Indiana.
Don't we end it with them all together?
They all come together at the end of the
But-
season.
but-
Hopper
but-
gets saved from the Russian or the Soviet facility.
But every season of this is a very much like a Pyrrhic victory ending. Like it's very much like, yay, we did it. Oh, Sean Astin got eaten.
Yes. Well,
Or like, yay, we did it. Oh, there's a worm crawling through
Some
Barb.
one season guest star needs to get murdered by the end.
Yeah, it's still very sad.
But I would say like season 4 felt like the most tease of the next season.
Yes.
It was the most like, oh, what's that in the sky? kind of moment.
And
They sort of-
Hawkins has been, like there's crap all over. They look out and they're like, hey, little spores.
There's this big rift, and they all sort of set out on that meadow overlooking Hawkins and these like ashy spore things kind of from
I
the
would not
upside
want to
down.
be
Sorry.
breathing those in. Also,
No,
none
mask
of
up.
these people in this town are going to be able to sell their houses, ever.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, no one's going to buy a
But you
house
know what?
over a rift.
At this point, no one's selling their houses in 2025 anyway.
That's right. Also, have you looked at Midwest real estate?
Yeah.
You can get like a house in Detroit for $10. Anyways.
So we kind of end the season with like this thread of Vecna or One or whatever you want to call him. He has a real name that I'm forgetting. Still out there, right? It's like, again, like Zach said, sort of teeing up this season. So why don't you take a look at the trailer for season 5, and then we'll kind of get into some of the background of what this season might have in store, and then we'll go frame by frame and kind of look at some fun stuff from the trailer. So let's take a look. Okay, I think that's a really fun trailer.
Great
Fun.
trailer.
They always know exactly what music to pick for their trailer.
Yes, and so this song is
Child
a Deep
in
Purple
Time.
track.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're a beginner guitar player, you've learned Smoke on the Water.
I mean, last year it was Someday love will find you. They had Journey in the trailer, which I think more people know, but they always find a good beat.
And this one it kind of has the very like ominous orchestral kind of build.
Yeah.
And then like the wailing of the singer kind of times up with I think it was Nancy or like one of the characters like kind of like screaming in the trailer.
Yeah,
which
they
was
know how to
cool.
cut a trailer. They know how to pick a music.
Yeah. And so Ross Duffer, one of the Duffer brothers, of course, said on Instagram, he says, don't worry about spoilers. This teaser pulls from every episode except for episode 7, but mostly volume 1 and barely scratches the surface, which is, the way that you kind of want a teaser.
And we should clarify. So this we're getting this season in 3 batches.
Yes.
The first batch comes out basically on Thanksgiving. The second batch comes out on literal Christmas Day. The third batch comes out 1 week later
And that's
on
just
New Year's
the
Eve.
finale. Just that one
single
episode is the New Year's.
They've also said that basically every episode is a feature film. So
again, missed opportunity in my opinion to start it. I think that they should have started it in September. So that like it word of mouth has built by October. I get that they have Wednesday, but like you can have 2 spooky shows. People who love October and Halloween, they want the most spooky shows.
I bet they feel that this show is big enough that it doesn't really matter.
Well,
I
and
know,
I also
but-
think they know that like the marketing of these 3 holidays is great. That's also like
Everyone's going to be talking about it.
This is like kind of as close as we have to a mass audience kind of monoculture
Appointment TV
kind of show
type
where it's
thing.
like, you and your parents over the holidays, or I'll get all the cousins in the room and we'll watch it together.
And you know what? To that I say, fuck you, Netflix.
Damn,
because
dog.
here's why. First of all, I don't want to watch this shit with my family. I want to watch this shit with my friends and my coworkers. Second of all, my mom's TV is not that great and the sound sucks, so I want to be home. I don't want to be at my mom's place. I want to be at my mom's place watching Stranger Things while I should be, cooking or whatever.
There are people who were children when the first season dropped and now are grandparents. So there's multiple generations that have grown up on this show.
I do think Netflix is probably trying to squeeze out this as long as they can, because this is, other than House of Cards, this is sort of like, this was one of Netflix's big hits.
And
now, since then, they've had a lot of other big hits, and that's Squid Game. But
people have talked about like Netflix definitely has like won the streaming wars. They're much larger than the other streaming competitors.
not according to the Emmy nominations.
But the one thing they don't have is like on-platform IP.
Yes.
Right? Like they don't have Marvel, Pixar, DC, anything like that. And they haven't really been able to launch IP with a couple notable exceptions.
Yes.
Bridgerton being one. Wednesday they kind of imported in because obviously Addams Family existed way before that.
Yeah.
But then this has been like, if you're ever gonna own a lunchbox based on something from Netflix, it is this. If they're ever gonna have a theme park ride, it will probably be Stranger Things. And certainly,
which we see at Universal Horror Nights all the time.
And like their other big show, House of Cards, is now tainted.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue the show is getting tainted by some of the things that some of the actors in the show have said, but that I think Netflix is like happy to sweep under the rug.
Yeah. They're like, hold off until it's done.
When was the last season of this? Was that 22? 23?
It was before I started working here, and I've been working here for a little over 2 years ago, because I remembered watching the coverage, the breakdown coverage, before I ever started.
Maybe 2022 is when the last season came out of this.
I think so.
So it has been a while, and maybe it's kind of like receded from the front of our consciousness because of that length of time.
Just like those kids' hairlines.
Just like those kids' hair. And so let me give you a quick, the official synopsis for this season, just to kind of put us in frame of where we left off from season 4 into season 5, because season 4 takes place in 1986. This takes place in the fall of 1987. So there's not like a 4-year time jump or anything like that to kind of catch us up with the ages of all of the kid actors. But here's the official synopsis. The fall of 1987, Hawkins is scarred by the opening of the rifts.
That's what's aging the kids. That's
Yeah,
what they have to say.
it's radiation
They have
or
to be
something like
Oh my
that.
God, the spores, they age you by 5 years.
Exactly. And it says, and all of our heroes are united by a single goal, find and kill Vecna, but he's vanished and his whereabouts and plans are unknown. Complicating their mission, the government has placed the town under military quarantine and has intensified its hunt for 11, forcing her back into hiding.
I think they're going to try and burn that town.
I think so too. We'll pull up some images here in a second of the sort of military invasion, but it also says, As the anniversary of Will's disappearance approaches, so does a heavy familiar dread. The final battle is looming, and with it, a darkness more powerful and more deadly than anything they've faced before. To end this nightmare, they'll need everyone, the full party, Barb, standing together one last
Eddie?
time.
Robbie or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I think, I don't know, this.
Well, I'll say a couple things. If, John did a very brief recap of the 4th season, but the 4th season, the gang was never united until the very end of the season.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like Hopper literally didn't get to North America, I believe, until the final episode.
Yeah.
And the kids were spread out in different states and whatever.
some
and they
moved it,
part of this, when you have a gigantic cast, you can't keep, it would be insane to have 9 people in every scene or whatever. So you need to give an A and a B and a C plot. You need to have people off on different side quests that intersect and overlap.
Also, there's nothing more satisfying than separating people and bringing them back together. There's nothing more satisfying than like the return of the king moment, where it's like, oh, we're all in this battle, or the on your left moment.
And part of this is the fault of the show in that the core, the core 4 kids, their immediate family, Hopper, Joyce, whatever. But then every season they add more people. Oh, we're adding a Steve. We're adding a Robin. We're adding a Max.
Normally they kill one of them at least. But they do add
every season they add 3 people, kill 1. So it's like you keep growing until you have this unwieldy Murray, right? Like this unwieldy, huge cast, which is cool because like they're fun actors and they're fun characters. But like you then have too many pieces to juggle, and so you have to separate them out in groups of 3s and 4s. I like the idea that the season is starting with them all together. Obviously, they'll also need to split up, and there'll be these 4 go to the Upside Down, and these 4 hang out, and these 3 get captured and have to escape, and blah blah blah. You'll need to separate them out. But I like starting and ending with them together. Though I also speculate you can solve some of this problem if you kill some of these.
Kill some off.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, right? They're doing these in chunks, and the last time they did it in kind of batches like this, you have the big like running up the hill moment. That's not in the finale, right? That's in like the second, the like last episode of the first drop, I think that they did. So they are structuring these seasons around the drops and the cliffhangers and all that kind of stuff. So I think that they could. There's 4 episodes in the first drop. Maybe a couple people die at the end of that first drop.
Is it 4 or 3 in the first drop?
So the first 4 episodes are dropping on November 26th, which is the day before Thanksgiving. Those episodes are titled The Crawl, The Vanishing of blank, 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 which the internet is speculating is Holly Wheeler. We can talk about that in a second. Those 2 episodes are directed by the Duffer Brothers. Then there's an episode called The Turnbow Trap, which is directed by Frank Darabont. And then there's an episode called just called Sorcerer. So that's the first drop. Then the second drop is 8 episodes total. The second drop is 3 episodes on Christmas Day. That is Shock Jock, also directed by Frank Darabont.
Probably a lot of what we saw in the radio.
Makes a lot of sense that would be there. Then Escape from Kamazats, which is something that I think we should also kind of bring back and talk about in a second.
Yes.
Then The Bridge. And then the finale is on New Year's Eve, and that's titled The Right Side Up. So here's something that is sort of interesting when I was doing this research. Sean Levy, director of Deadpool and Wolverine, but a bunch of these Stranger Things episodes, has always, for the first 4 seasons, directed episodes 3 and 4. The Duffer Brothers have done the first couple, then he's done 3 and 4. Now Frank Darabont is doing episodes 4 and 5, I think. Is that what I just said? Maybe Sean's not doing 2 episodes. The 3 episodes that don't have directors announced yet. Or there's these like 2 episodes that sort of end the second drop that maybe he's directing. But
I thought it was announced that he
said he was doing at least 1,
yeah.
he said. Yeah. So I don't know if he's doing a couple of them back to back like he's done in the past, or if he's just doing 1. So let's talk about some of these titles. The Vanishing of Blank is sort of one of the titles. We don't know the full title.
And they're purposely withholding that because obviously it's a key plot detail.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's Holly Wheeler, who's the sort of youngest daughter of the Wheeler family. she's been in a few episode titles in the past and all that kind of stuff, but not like a huge character. There was rumors that she's been like recast with an older actress.
I think that was
can maybe hold more.
It was hard to tell in that trailer though, like she still looks pretty young in that,
I
in that
think
trailer.
it might have been recast with a younger actress because the actress
that's
later in the
possible, too.
previous seasons
That's
is now-
actually what I was thinking. Like I was like, oh, this girl still looks young, whereas the other actress would be, like 10 by now, and it doesn't. But yeah, like it is. I mean, Vecna obviously has to recruit some other souls at this point. Maybe hers is the tastiest.
And it's interesting, right? Like most of these people who were in the laboratory were kids.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an age component with some of this stuff where it's like you need to get into your brain before it develops fully or something like that. I wonder if he's going after, like he goes after Will. Now Will's a little bit older. We're going to go after Holly.
Well, another element of that is like we know he was going after people who had suffered trauma,
right.
who had like unresolved. Like that was the whole thing about him going after Sadie Sink. It was because she saw her brother die and had this like negative imagery in her head that we found out from the school guidance counselor others had been taken for the same reason. I think what's interesting about a lot of these titles is a lot of them have references to D&D, which goes back to the first season. Like it's come up other times, like the sorcerer episode, like wasn't Will the sorcerer in the pilot?
And also, I feel like I saw somewhere that this is references like the Sorcerer Part 2 or something like that. Was there a previous episode named The Sorcerer?
I think, like, I cannot remember if it was a season 1. I just remember when they were playing D&D, and I think it was Will. He was the sorcerer. And yeah, it sounds to me like you're gonna want to binge watch all of the other seasons because a lot of these, I mean, obviously the right side up is like the opposite of the upside down. The bridge is like what they call the world between sort of the upside down, and so I think a lot of these, I think they're assuming you're gonna have watched at least
there'll be some
recap.
Juicy previously on.
Yeah.
And watch our breakdowns.
Maybe some outlets like New Rockstars will provide you with some primers.
And there's also this, like, speaking of what you were just saying, this episode called "Escape from Kamazats," which is a sort of
it's a Mayan
god, but in D&D specifically is like a bat monster. So I think we'll see some kind of either a singular flying scary guy or maybe some Vecna flying monkeys type of thing.
And this is in keeping with names they've given. I mean, the Demogorgon comes from D&D and then like, so yeah, like Vecna. So every season they're like, oh, there's a new monster. We're going to name it after D&D.
One of the things that we were talking about earlier is like there's a bunch of unanswered questions about the upside down and all of this kind of stuff. I can't remember. We were talking in the office before this about some unanswered questions we had. And Netflix is talking, when they're talking about the release of this season, that the Duffer Brothers, I guess, after season 1, sat down and wrote like a 25-page upside-down Bible to basically say like, oh yeah, we think that this is kind of how it works and all that kind of stuff.
No, did they have to do that on their backs? Or like how did
yeah, exactly. It's like they need a space pen.
It never runs out of ink.
And so they kind of said like, hey, we've held back a lot of that information, but season 5 is, I guess it's the final season, right?
Yeah, they're gonna leave it all on the table.
I hope that it's tricky, right? Like there's a lot of online debate for forever. We talk about Lost on the show a lot and how they set up all these questions and didn't necessarily answer all of them. I don't feel like Stranger Things, for me personally, is like, I need all these answers. I am a little bit more here for the plot than I am for the mystery, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's also how I felt about Lost, too. Like, I was like, oh, it would be so dissatisfying if they did sit down and say, here's the answer to this, here's the answer. Like, for me, we were talking about this in the office earlier. One of the big questions online is how did Vecna, when he was a human kid, how did he get his powers?
Right.
Because 11 and all the other kids in the lab were taken as babies, experimented on, and that's how they were given their powers by the government. But that was not the case with number 1. He had his powers before he ever set foot in a lab.
Forgive me because it's been as long as everybody else from me seeing it. Isn't it established that like they show some kind of aptitude for the psychic abilities? Then they're recruited, experimented on. It brings the abilities out, maybe magnifies them, but they're stealing these kids for reasons. I thought.
Yeah, I don't know, or maybe it was like some specifically because with her mom, it's sort of like with Eleven's mom, it's just sort of implied like, oh, she's kind of down and out, and they're sort of preying on vulnerable people who will sell their kids, basically. But yeah, now that you say it, I think you're right. Her mom did say something like, oh, like I saw stuff when I was pregnant or something. Again, we got to go back and watch it. But yeah, I think that those kinds of things, like where they originally got their powers from before I don't think they're going to answer that. I don't think they're going to be like, oh, well, it was proximity to power lines when their parents were pregnant. Or I don't think we're going to get definitive answer on things that are inherently magical, which was also the case with Lost. Like they were like, well, where'd the light from the island come from? Magic. Like you want us to explain magic? Like what? And I think that that's sort of going to be what they do with this. I think they're going to answer some questions, and others they're just going to be like, it's a fantasy show. You have to suspend your disbelief.
And it's a show, right? Like built on the bones of both 80s kid movies that we love, and also D&D, and like. It's not like you need to know where those dragons are coming from, right? Like,
it's not. I mean, truly, in '80s movies, they explained nothing. Like, it was not. There was no like, hey, let's go to E.T.'s homeworld, figure out how they invented like interstellar space travel, and why this particular alien like got trapped here. Like, because they knew in the '80s that the magic is ruined once you explain the magic. It's like any magic trick.
Once you make your seasons 14 hours long and have to give us too much exposition, the magic is rubbed.
Exactly.
Maybe. Okay, let's just go kind of not necessarily frame by frame exactly, but we pulled up a bunch of frames that have interesting details I want to talk about. First and foremost, like Eddie's name is not cleared, right? Like he was suspected to be the murderer of all of these teenagers. Burn in hell. Well, that's interesting to be like. How has he not been? The town is falling apart. The town is falling apart.
But you could understand, right? And a lot of the last season was built on the real life satanic panic of the 1980s, right? Where like people thought teenagers were worshiping the devil and then doing murders,
which we were.
There was a little bit of that going on, but it was overblown. But but maybe even the people that buy into that and think that Eddie is this satanic child murderer, they probably also believe he opened up all these holes, and he has brought, like, they can't wrap their head around the idea of this Vecna character.
Well, also, like, who's going to tell them the truth, and what are they going to tell them? Like, there's going to be one person with a ham radio being like, it's the government! The government experimented on babies that they... Like, that sounds crazier than, like, oh, this guy listened to a record backwards and then opened up...
But I know that, like, Joyce is kind of considered to be a kook in this universe, but, like, Hopper at least should be able to kind of say...
Hopper's been missing for like 2 years. He's going to come back and be like, I was in a Russian prison. Well, the government.
We know the closest this world has to like a government authority figure, like the military is corrupt, right? Like they're trying to kill the kids we know in the last season, right?
And they've set up in Hawkins. You've got this image, and they're kind of like surrounding.
And they want everyone to think Eddie killed everyone.
I guess that's true, right? They've got this whole quarantine zone in the city. It'll be interesting to kind of see what that means to the citizens of Hawkins. But it's a smaller. I didn't pull up this image, but there's another shot where it's just sort of a smaller quarantine zone. I don't know. Is it such a big deal?
What?
I don't know. The government's quarantining something around a big rift in the city. I would be like down for that.
I mean, keep in mind it's also like the 80s, so they're not like on Twitter being like they're quarantining us. It's like 2 states away. No one has ever heard of this quarantine or this rift. It's just like one day there was a town, and the next day the military bombed it.
Yeah, potentially. We also get the kind of beginning of the trailer cuts back to this like. I don't know exactly what you would call it, some kind of radio device that has this decibel meter that goes up to 100 by the end of the trailer.
This one goes up to 100.
For me, right, like maybe there's a connection there between listening to your favorite song that helps you escape Vecna. Maybe we've already kind of figured out that fire is helpful against the Demogorgons and shit like that. Maybe they figured out another thing of like Vecna has some kind of like audio. That's a common trope in this movie.
I know Eric is currently working on a breakdown of this trailer to be released on the new Rockstars channel. But like he was speculating in his deliberations for the breakdown, like, is this a repellent 100 decibels, or is this an attraction 100 decibels, right? It's also interesting, and we don't know what if the images and the vocals that we hear are intended to be from the same scene or if they're spliced together. But even like burn commencing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or whatever, like we know, you can burn the upside down or the portals and the demodogs and everything. So like, is that like, let's draw the Vecna out with this music and then burn his ass? Or?
I was thinking that it's like, they're raising the volume to try and hear inside the upside down. And like, you know, to figure out, like, is he still there? And my theory is that found you is what he's going to like whisper while he's in the upside down that they are then going to hear on the radio. Maybe. And maybe they're doing it timed to when the burns are happening to hear all the demodogs like screaming to be like, oh yeah, like it's working. They are taking out creatures. But that was just what I thought. Because to me, if you're turning up the volume on something, it's like, hey, let's try and listen to this other dimension and see if we can hear anything.
Though, the only thing I would say about that is, like, it's a radio station van. Radio station vans do not listen, they project. Right? So that makes me think he is broadcasting at increasingly high levels, right?
Sense. Maybe there's a character that's in the upside down that they can't get to. They can't put headphones on and they need to blast their favorite song.
Consciousness in there.
Maybe it's that. Maybe it's
also,
like.
Didn't we see another radio van? Like, wasn't there when the whole like turn around? Like when he's like communicating
that van just
with
drives away from the radio station.
Oh, I thought he was like communicating with his girlfriend on a specific.
Oh, well, that was ham radio.
On a ham radio.
Oh, you're talking about in previous seasons.
Yes. But like, maybe it's I was thinking maybe this is a similar thing that they're trying to listen. But yeah, you're right that probably this doesn't work like that.
We'll find out. Who knows? And I think it's also interesting. They do the countdown for the burn, and then we see the military doing the burn.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're just observing the military and sort of trying to time it out with what they're doing.
You wouldn't count down on behalf of somebody.
You got to think that they're doing those scenes are disconnected, right?
Yeah,
they're
probably disconnected.
Burn.
Well, it's also interesting, and I'm sure Eric will do the math on this, right? Like, we see a group of characters in what looks like the radio station. Obviously, Steve's out in the van. That van, in a different shot, pulls away, and there's 2 people on bikes. Like, where are the bodies? It cuts to, like, Hopper in close-up saying, like, come on. But he's not in the radio station. So could there even be, like, is he somewhere else in Hawkins? Or is he in the Upside Down? And that's the way they communicate with him, right?
Could just be taking a big poop.
He could be taking a big poop. Come on!
Get out!
I got a place to be!
Hurry!
Well, let's talk about Hopper real fast. We've got this shot of Hopper and this kind of body next to him. And you can see all of these bullet holes coming through, the light peeking through.
That's 11.
Is 11.
Yeah.
That is 11 based on costumes and all that kind of stuff. In a previous shot, he's sort of like grappling her body.
It's also
there.
11 giving very Josh Brolin and Goonies.
Yeah.
Track,
You're right.
and all the sweatpants and the shorts
over the sweats.
Yeah.
So the question, I guess, is like, I mean, this is not 11 being dead in this shot, but like clearly either very injured.
Her whole thing is she uses her juice and then she's got to pass out.
Maybe she's just got the bloodiest of noses.
Or like she sent her consciousness to somewhere and try and. I think she's still torn up about not being able to truly rescue Sadie Sink. Right.
Well, and she goes at a certain point. She's going into another sensory deprivation chamber. She's got this weird kind of swimsuit thing on,
and we see him say to her like, "I need you to do this one last time," or something.
I think Finn Wolfhard and Mike and 11 share a little moment in the trailer, presumably before she has to go do this.
Yeah, I keep saying Sadie Sink. It's Max.
Yeah. So we also get a new character, Linda Hamilton, of course, of the Terminator franchise and a bunch of other great stuff. Is a new character named Dr. K. So presumably part of the sort of like Hawkins laboratory nastiness, right?
Do you think? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. Now that Papa is dead, right? You need a new big bad. Yeah, maybe this is Mama.
Matthew Modine's character was killed in the last season, so you need a new like evil scientist, possibly.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, right? Like, do you think that could be in flashback? to
Very possible.
the older era, or is that like maybe she is the new evil scientist brought in by the military to control this or weaponize it or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few kind of like Dr. Blanks in this show so far. It feels like she's kind of the stand-in for there, but I would love it if we got some flashbacks from the season. And
Is Paul Reiser still alive in this world?
I believe
we never
so.
saw him.
I don't
he never died.
think he died in the last season. I don't think so. He did kind of save 11.
Yeah,
alive.
and then
He's a good guy
did not
scientist.
see him get killed.
He's a good guy scientist. Yeah.
I'm just trying to keep
If
track
there
of
are
all the
good guy
doctors. Yeah.
like saying he's a good guy Nazi, but yeah.
Anti-science John?
Yeah.
If you're experimenting on children, I don't know.
Well, fair.
But speaking of flashbacks, a lot of people online are speculating this shot here is a flashback of maybe Will's first experience in the Upside Down. I picked this shot because it was cooler, but there's a previous shot that I didn't grab where it's a little hard to make out, but you can kind of see the same wardrobe that Will sort of wore in season 1.
Like
and people
bowl
think,
cut kind of thing.
Yeah.
We had
people
also
think-
seen a production shot of this scene where it's green screened behind him. There's sort of like a fake tree up there, and he's attached to wires. I remember this. This came out maybe like a year ago. And he's sort of one of the characters that hasn't aged as much as the others. So it could definitely be, but he is much bigger than he was in that first season. So if they're trying to sell this as a flashback, I assume they would have done what they did when they flashback to 11, which was get a smaller body double and then sort of like put her face on it. So to me, I think this has to be present day, just based on how big he is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the costume is what kind of made people think, which is, again, I didn't pull the right thing to look at that, is maybe why people think that that's that flashback.
Yeah, I think he is
really
wearing his old jacket in it.
And we didn't, but maybe there's a plot reason for them to do that, right?
Yeah.
With very 80s movie of like, we've got to put on the clothes of a different, I don't know. So anyways, I thought that was kind of an interesting detail. Then we've got Nancy kind of like washing her hands of blood and sobbing into this mirror. It's really intense.
Yeah. Love that they got that 80s soap right.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. There's still some public restrooms out there.
That's true.
Yeah, baby.
With that dispenser.
Keep watering it down.
Yes. And people have been speculating, you assume somebody weeping while washing blood off their hands that somebody they
a dead
love
person.
just died, right? And maybe you were holding them while they died or something like that. Now, there's a lot of options there, but for Nancy specifically, right? Is that a Jonathan? Is that a Steve? Could that be Will?
Holly, we said
Holly,
earlier, could be
her mother.
Karen.
It does feel like
There's a lot of...
If Hopper gets killed, though obviously she would not be happy about that, it doesn't feel like she would be the one, sadly,
It
washing
could
her
also
hands.
just be a trauma sadness. Like, it could, I realize she has blood on her hands, but it could just be like, oh my God, how much more of this are we going to have to endure? It's like, it's so hard to tell who they're going to kill, because I genuinely think at this point, with how much time has passed, the main character that I would be sad if they died would be Hopper. And the rest of it, fuck them kids. If they're killing one of them kids, I'm like, whatever. I don't know. You can't keep trauma porning me every season. If you kill Hopper, I'm gonna be pissed.
I think Hopper's got to be near the top of the list as far as likely to die. Though it is lessened a little bit because they've already fake killed him.
Right.
In season 3 into season 4, if at least once, if not multiple times. But I mean, David Harbour, we all have such a relationship with. He's kind of all of our dad figures in that sense.
Doesn't it seem like Will has been living on borrowed time ever since he escaped from the Upside Down? We were sort of theorizing before this that this could also be a Terminator 2 situation where, in Terminator 2, Arnold has to destroy himself because they need to destroy every bit of this technology, and he has some of it in himself. Or the future will come to pass.
Situation.
Yeah, and so to me, it would make the most sense if let's say 11 and all the other kids are sort of tied to Vecna, either because they used him to experiment on them or because they all came from the same place. It would make the most sense to kill her.
Let's talk real quick. I just want to group characters into pods of most likely to die to least likely to die.
Okay.
I'm gonna put least likely to die. I'm gonna put Mike, Lucas, Dustin in that.
I agree. I agree.
And
that original 3.
And like
3 of the 4 at least.
Lucas's sister, like all these
They're not
kind of
gonna
like
kill-
tertiary characters.
Yes. I think like they're all
Maya Hawke's character's probably safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Argyle, if we see him this season, I think they're probably all pretty safe. Now, middle ground, I think Steve, Jonathan, Nancy, Will.
Yeah.
Maybe actually Will might be most likely.
I
He
think
might be
Will
in
might
that
be
pocket.
most likely.
Joy, but you could put Joyce there. I do
Yeah.
feel like
I think Joyce
an
makes
adult
it.
will kill, will bite it. So either Hopper or Joyce maybe. And then like most likely to die, I feel
Maury.
like Maury died off screen. He went back to his home planet. But I think 11 is, we've talked about like, does she need to sacrifice herself to take out Vecna and close all the loops? I think Will has kind of been marked for death from the very
from the
first
beginning.
episode.
Yeah.
I think Linda Hamilton's character probably doesn't make it out of
Anytime they
here.
introduce a new character, that character's very likely to die that season.
in some badass way. I mean, that's a very Linda Hamilton thing to do.
And as we already said, feels like Hopper not looking good for him.
Yeah.
Any others that come to mind as you feel like are extremely safe or extremely in danger?
Well, you gotta think Vecna dies.
Yes.
Right? They gotta win. This show doesn't feel like they lost. kind of show.
He makes it out and starts an MLM. And he's just like, "God, this is really,
Buy my
this is where
supplements."
He runs for president
make
of the
your
United
skin look
States
like
of
this.
America.
Buy my leggings.
He takes over Reagan's second term. It does feel like even though the Duffers have announced that there are going to be future Stranger Things related projects.
Yeah.
Whatever those could be completely unrelated, but in a similar scary tone or something like that.
We got this stage play that's on Broadway and the West End that is like a kind of a prequel. So maybe we turn that into a season of TV or something
And
like
I would
that.
imagine that, we saw in season 2 with varying levels of success that there are other teens with abilities. I think that they mostly were like, let's ignore that.
Yeah, I mean, that felt like it was one of those, like, that episode of The Office called The Farm, where they were like, we're going to soft launch a spin-off series, and then everyone was like, that's bad.
Never again.
And also they were like, why do they have different powers than 11 has? Like, what's going on? Is this an X-Men type thing? And then people were like, shut up. But it does make sense that, like, there are labs elsewhere. We already know that the Russians have sort of discovered certain things, and that they've been stealing babies and experimenting.
And in the same way that Stranger Things has allowed them to kind of tell this, like, Hughes, Spielberg inflected Midwest kid story, you could set a story in New York, right? And tell a very different tonal story, or Miami, or France, or whatever, right? And like kind of be able to capture other kind of pop culture references and stuff like that. But I think you're right. The big bad will be defeated ultimately. Just a matter of how and who goes out with them.
Right.
Yeah. I think 11 is 11 for me is almost definitely going to die.
Oh, really?
Everyone
Interesting.
else is like fair game. I just think it is, her main purpose on this earth up until this point has been to like be a lab rat and sort of take out these things. And I think she's going to end up like sacrificing herself to close those things, bring Sadie Sink's consciousness back, and sort of be like, bye guys.
Yeah, I mean, we get this Sadie Sink stuff in the hospital a little bit, and then we get kind of a Jurassic Park moment where, like, is she still in a coma at this point, right?
She looks like she is.
That's
She's
definitely
still
a
in her hospital garb.
hospital
Now, the woman on the far left.
that looks like a candy striper.
Candy striper,
okay,
yeah.
great. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, like
it's-
in a hospital, they're like the volunteers.
Yeah, it's an outdated
Look
concept,
after
but they
them.
usid to literally wear
Wait,
like
do they
stripes.
not call them candy stripers?
Well, I don't think
anymore?
it's a position that exists anymore.
Oh crap!
When's the last
Zach
time you
and I
saw
are
a candy
old.
striper?
I don't know. That's
I've-
a good question.
I've seen some adult films that captured the characteristics, but
Interesting.
Yeah, they used to be like I think they were called that because like they'd go to the children's ward at the hospital and bring candy to the kids.
Yeah,
or something.
but
In those adult
also
films.
because they specifically wore the red and white stripes that looked like candy shop stripes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an odd. It seems like a Demodog kind of breaks into the hospital.
It
and
also
they gotta
seems like
escape
maybe the power is failing, and
Yeah.
maybe this sort of pseudo nurse, sorry, candy stripers, like this candy striper / nurse is like, oh God, all the, like she's hooked up to life support, and then all of a sudden there's like a little like, woof, 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 I'm a demo dog.
Yeah, or is it like she's the one that got away, and now the Vecna is like, sick 'em, boys, right?
Yeah,
Go get my missing girl. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of which, right, like the kind of end of the trailer is we get this sort of new-ish look for Vecna.
Yeah.
Less gooey, more bony, branchy.
Broody.
Yeah.
More broody, yeah, for sure.
I mean, it also, honestly, it does, and it might just be because Linda Hamilton is in this, but this also looks very like Terminator 2 coded, because that's when he's the bending metal,
Yes.
like the liquid metal.
And the last season did end with like somewhat of a defeat for Vecna. It was like they thought they'd maybe killed him, then it turned out like, okay,
scared him away.
Something survived, but I think he got burned or something like that.
But he's also still in his domain, which we know he's mastered once when he was much younger. He mastered it, and he was able to like mold.
And he
things
created the what was it that big guy called
Mind Flayer.
The Mind Flayer, right?
Yeah, I don't even. Did he create it, or did he find the Mind Flayer there? And he was like, "Hey, buddy, you want to work for me, buddy?"
Under his control.
They were working together for sure. And there's some other shots. I don't know if you have the shot of like a giant, almost Ridley Scott's Alien-esque goo wall.
I love a goo wall.
So it might have like some egg pods in it or something like
love
that.
A goo wall, love egg pods.
Might be like birthing a new. Maybe that's where we get the Bat God character, or Demogorgons or something like that pop out of there. Yeah.
And then the very last thing that I pulled is just this thing of a big 11 leap that is almost like, are you flying? What the fuck?
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
I would love to see. We haven't really gotten like an 11 that is like on top of her powers and is in control and like can go full fucking badass mode.
Yes.
I would love to get that in this season.
Well, she can like, she saved, was it Mike the time that he like fell off the cliff and she was like lifted him? So she could get that under control. It is a very
It's like the Jedi. It's like the Jedi. Can you force push yourself off the ground type of thing?
Yeah.
Well, and it is interesting in that. Can you bring up that shot again? The bus she's jumping over is pretty beat up. Do you think this is in the Upside Down or this is in the regular world?
That's a good question.
Because like it's lit
Upside
as
down
if
never
it's
gets that bright.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems pretty bright.
Because like you could also understand if like maybe her powers work a little different in the Upside Down versus the regular world. But this definitely looks like the regular world, just maybe a dirty part of the regular
I'm wondering,
world.
it's possible, right? The military set up this quarantine in Hawkins. Maybe there are other people who are like, I got this beat up bus, and I'm gonna try to like set up a barricade in front of.
It's classic superhero stuff to go to a junkyard to work on your powers.
I would love her, pushing big tires around.
It's like a training montage. Her nose just keeps bleeding profusely.
And, a recurring theme throughout all the seasons of this show. 11 is kind of OP, right? She is a little Carol Danvers-esque in that, like, she can kind of do anything. So they have to constantly find ways to ground that. To introduce
things like Vecna that is not only matches her powers, but is theoretically more powerful.
I mean, to recap, like she spent most of the last season powerless.
Yes.
They had to kind of bring it out of her near the end of that season to defeat Vecna. They'll do that. They'll have like, she gets a little nosebleed. When she does it, she can't use her power too much. Right. It drains her. So it'll be interesting to see, like you mentioning that, and they've said that there are no clips in this from the finale. And most of the clips in this are from the first batch, not even the second batch. It'll be interesting. How long does she stay powered? Do we see her a fully powered 11 throughout the series? Do they find a way to kind of sideline her for a stretch of the season so that when it comes back and she can save the day, it is a bigger result?
Yeah, or maybe it ends with her not dead but just depowered, which they sort of did at like, what was it, the end of season
3? Into 4? Or?
Yeah, I guess, because what in season 2 was it? Yeah, I guess she still had her powers in season 2.
That's when she disappears and he has to lure her back with Eggo waffles, I believe. I don't know.
Yeah, but it seems like you can't end the show with like a super hero sort of like on the loose. So either she has to close the Upside Down and that cuts her off from her powers entirely, or she dies.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's hard To Kill a Kid.
Good thing she's 37.
I mean, but she's a little older
Good thing
now.
she's married to John Bon Jovi's kid now.
So, oh, that's crazy.
Are they married? She's a married person?
Yeah, she's a married person. MP.
Congrats to her. MP. Just not that kind of
Military police?
Yeah, so I guess my last question here, guys, is like, we've been talking a lot about how fucking long this has taken to come out. And, you know, my question, I guess, is like, is it too late? And I want to kind of put some strings on that sentence, which is like, if it's great, does it matter? And also, we're getting 8 episodes, but a lot of them are going to be feature length. And that clearly adds to, you know, how long it's taken them to write these episodes and produce them. So, you know, would you rather, I guess, you know, A, is it too late? And B, would you rather them have maybe split this into 2 seasons and gotten some of it a little bit earlier and the episodes are a little bit shorter or something like that? Or are you just like, hey, actually season 4 really worked for me. That took them a long time and those episodes were really beefy and big and they put a lot of budget into these things?
No, I absolutely think that they should have split it and made them shorter and done it earlier. But I mean, everyone who's watched this show at all knows that, like, I think shows should come out every year. I think
it would be great.
Like, I think that is how it worked since the existence of TV, and this whole thing where now we wait 9 years for a season is relatively new. But yeah, I think that the longer you go, the less people care. I think people will watch it simply to close out the chapter. But if recent shows like The Handmaid's Tale are any example, sometimes when you wait too long, people are like, ugh.
Though the most recent season of The Handmaid's Tale was a big rating success.
It got no
Emmy nominations,
I think,
but it was a lot of people watched it.
Well, let me bring up real fast a show like Twin Peaks, which is very different, I guess, than Stranger Things, but like
huge cult following.
You get kind of a rushed, shitty season of TV with season 2. And then obviously David Lynch takes like 20 years and you get something like Twin Peaks The Return. And it's like, oh, that was worth the wait.
Yeah.
And this is a shorter wait and it's more serialized, all that kind of stuff.
And it's also wild. They said they did literally 12 months of principal photography.
Wow.
That's not just, that's before you even start editing and doing special effects. That's just, they literally filmed for a full year. Now, it kind of makes sense. Well,
and that's
it's a crazy number when you can shoot all of Avengers Doomsday in like 5 months.
I was going to say, they did 180 days for Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
Yes. So, like, insane. But they said they had something like, I'm going to butcher the number, but the Duffer Brothers did an interview where they said they had something like 635 hours of footage.
Wow.
Now, obviously, the series is not going to be 6. They edit that down. There's multiple takes, all kinds of stuff. But, like, in that sense, I don't mind the wait. I mean, there's part of me that's like, wrap all this shit up in a movie. Just give me 2 hours, 25 minutes that begins at the end of the last season, and then you can wrap up the whole thing. A hallmark of this series is they need to really pad out the story. I mean, but that part of that, we love that, and streaming platforms really need watch time hours. Right? Like, that's how they judge success. It's not just how many people watch the thing, but like how many total minutes of something were consumed. And like, well, when you make it 12 hours long across 8 episodes, you get a lot more minutes than if it's...
Especially now that they have these ad-supported models where you want to get an ad insertion at the hour 45 mark.
And like, you know, we obviously haven't seen the season, so we don't know how they're going to pull it off. I hope, because they have the end goal in sight, right? And they know all the questions they need to answer. They know all the characters they need to tell the story for, that they will do that really well. And like, they take as much time as they need it. Because you also know, like, if anybody has the weight to do whatever they want, it's the Duffer Brothers with the Stranger Things, right? Like, they could have told Netflix, we need 12 episodes. They also could have told them, we only need 3, right? They chose this amount for a reason. And so hopefully that is in service of telling a great story.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an obvious take, but like, if it's good, I'm fine with the wait.
And I think it will be good. I just think it's, you know, I think at some point a new TV model will emerge that is something between what it used to be and what it is now.
Well, and I think it's interesting, right? Like you've got a show like The Pit, which is
Love The Pit.
That was 16 episodes, which is a lot
good.
longer than
Old
sort
school.
of most
God, it's so
HBO shows. They're gonna come out with another season at the end of this year,
Yep.
which is kind of an accelerated
Run
timeline.
by an OG, like not one
Absolutely.
of the new guard. Like the Duffer Brothers are a new gen, whereas John, what's his name?
Wilkes Booth.
Yeah, John Wilkes Booth, great,
Old
great
school
actor,
guy.
Old school guy.
Some controversial
You know,
opinions.
the guy,
but
the guy who created The Pit, like also created ER, and this is what he is used to. And The Pit is a great example of like people watched it every week and loved it, and it is nominated for a lot of Emmys. I think there will be, not a return to what that was, but I think the Duffer Brothers model people are realizing is unsustainable.
Well, it also be really interesting. Netflix has been moving in this direction. They did this with the most recent Squid Game season. The like mini batch drops,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Spreading a season out over a couple multi-episode drops, which kind of like splits the baby of do you want weekly drops or do
Yeah.
you want binge model? It's the best and the worst of both worlds in that like, oh great, I have 7.5 hours of something to get through.
Before it's spoiled for me.
But then
online.
also there will be a cliffhanger and I won't get the completion of a story in that 7.5 hours.
Yeah.
And like, they still, we are obviously heavily biased as our job is to talk about these things, and it makes it difficult for us to know when to talk about it. Has everybody watched it by the next day? No, and whatever. And it benefits us when there's something like The Penguin or, other classic release models that come out once a week. It's very easy for us to know when to talk about it. But also I think for a consumer, like, are people going to wait until the whole thing's out, binge that? Are they going to binge it? Are you kind of going to self-modulate and you could watch one a week?
Yeah.
I mean,
People-
the studio was also the
No.
studio was also a weekly drop, and I was like watching it when it dropped. Like I was like waiting
Yes,
for it.
6 p.m. Get your Apple TV app.
I mean, seriously.
HBO obviously has
Apple
stuck with
TV,
that
Severance.
model. Last of Us, The Penguin, White
Well, and
Lotus.
studies have shown that audiences are more invested in a weekly model than a binge drop, and that makes sense, right? Because it's like instant gratification, but also you instantly forget about it. And I'm not saying like a show that's great, you'll instantly forget about it, but the longer streamers can keep an audience engaged with a show, the better it is for them, because then they're not just signing up for a week and then
Sure.
I think you're dead
dropping
on.
the service.
What is the most forgettable MCU show?
Ooh, this
I
is a
forget.
dangerous question, John.
I mean,
what is it?
Secret Invasion?
Echo?
It's got to be Echo.
Echo, yeah, you're right.
Right?
I mean,
And that was
they did that
the
show a
fir-
big disservice.
Yeah,
Actually,
it
I
was
take
a
that
shitty
back.
way that they dropped
What
it.
if season 2 and what
Well,
if
sure.
season 3? Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the way that they dropped that show did make it a little bit harder to,
Yeah.
I don't think
you're
about
just
that show
less
very often.
invested and you're less,
Well,
yeah.
and it is interesting
engaged.
too for a show like Stranger Things that loves a cliffhanger. Is that character alive or dead? How are they going to defeat this? How are they going to get out of this jam?
Yeah.
Cliffhangers are lessened. The fact that I could literally watch what happens to that character by just pressing play on the
Right.
next episode right now.
Right,
Versus
right.
I need a little time to
This
wait
is also
and build
from
my
a writing
anticipation.
standpoint
Yeah.
very frustrating.
Well, and I brought up The Pit because, Zach, you had said something about this, these episodes are so long for Stranger Things. The Pit is 16 episodes. They're all about 56 minutes or something like that. The structure of the show, if you're unfamiliar with The Pit, is that it's one day at this hospital and they go hour by hour, kind of like
Yeah,
24.
24.
I would love a mid, if we're going to get a second season of The Pit, I would love a mid, in between seasons, put out a 2-hour episode. That would be very fun. We can do that with streaming now. And so I wonder if shows like Stranger Things that really do break the mold of traditional television by putting out these very long episodes and doing them in kind of weird orders, I hope that it shows streamers or gives streamers confidence to make television in ways that are servicing a story rather than servicing an episode count or a runtime or whatever. And that's going to be very hard to do considering these unions have all of these sort of like rules in place in terms of how much we pay people because of this, and that. But it would be very cool if we got more sort of like storytelling opportunities.
Don't you think
because of this?
That might be this show, right? Like there's a reason it's not like a symmetric release. It's 4 episodes, then 3, then 1. There'll probably be at the end of each of those batches, the first 2 batches, there will be a huge cliffhanger.
You got to think.
Right? Like somebody in peril, we don't know what's going to happen. And maybe the like interim episodes in those batches, maybe those tell slightly different story. Maybe those are kind of bottle episodes. Maybe they're something like that they are kind of viewing these as gigantic movies that they're splitting up into multiple episodes each batch. It'll be interesting to see what kind of storytelling they do. Because again, Stranger Things was kind of like at the vanguard of peak TV. One of the like second big waves of streaming hits after the early successes on Netflix, and like again felt like it captured the monoculture. It'll be interesting if they can recapture that, and if they choose to like push in some directions too. And this doesn't just feel like let's play the hits, but like we also have the sway to try some stuff with this final season, right?
Yeah, and I mean season 4 did that incredibly successfully. I, as personally, just speaking of for myself, I was out after season 3. I didn't love the first couple of episodes. I stopped watching season 3. Season 4 came out, captured the monoculture. Running Up the Hill was all over social media. You couldn't avoid it. People were talking about how much they loved it. Forced me to go back, watch season 3. And I loved season 4. I thought it was great. And I think a show like Stranger Things is a big enough kind of cultural pillar that it can wait this long and put out a season of television 3 years after the fact and still capture people's attention. But maybe a show like we just talked about, Handmaid's Tale, doesn't quite do that. It doesn't quite capture culture in the same way that you get like 2 of those shows a decade, maybe,
Not for me.
But I'm talking about the culture.
Andor.
I'm talking about the culture.
Yeah.
Andor doesn't seep into the culture. In that
our
way.
subset is not indicative of everything. And we were talking about, was it before we started rolling or once we were already rolling, about like they're probably part of their motivation for releasing this around holidays is that's when people are home, maybe with less going on, when you can sit down in the afternoon and watch 6 hours of something straight through, maybe with your family or because you're not working or you're not in school or whatever, right?
Yeah. Anyways, I hope that this is a great season of TV. My expectations are high. It was a good trailer.
Is the chat saying anything interesting about this?
They never do.
Oh, John.
Never do.
FYT in the chat, huh?
Do you think any of the other siblings, people are going to ask questions that I'm like, I don't remember that happening. GSU Eagle saying, do you think any of the other siblings, like Eleven's sister from season 2 or 3, will return?
Those are the powered people that we were talking about. I personally don't think so because they were not, fans did not like that storyline. They still talk about it as one of the less successful storylines from the show. I think at this point it's been too long and people have forgotten to not even mention them in season 4. I don't think there's any way to bring them back.
They're not going to introduce any super important characters in this season. Obviously, we know Linda Hamilton's playing a new character, but she's kind of slotting into a well-established role on this show of like evil government agent or what we're assuming.
But I do think that no one wants to see a couple of powered teens from season 2. Like this last season, they want to see the core. They want to see the core people.
The core's already too goddamn big.
Yeah.
The core's too big.
Yeah, they're
don't need
not
more.
bringing back those other superpowered people.
Here's a question that I have. In this age of streaming, this is kind of a sidestep, so I apologize. Like, how do you guys feel if the Duffer Brothers changed that episode, removed that plot line, and added a couple things into season 2?
Oh, I would hate that.
That's very weird and would be bizarre.
A Donner cut, but it's a Duffer cut.
It is a little bit like creators being like, hey, we put out a great show. There's a couple things that sucked. Let's go change those things.
No. They would never.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not like, they have historically Spielberg famously went back and changed the guns to walkie-talkies in E.T.
And then changed it back.
And George Lucas is always futzing with the original trilogy and things like that. But a TV show is different. And also, this is one of those things that I think you would run into hell with the unions, because a TV show is written by someone, and even if the Duffer Brothers wrote that episode, it's still who is the director of that episode? And if you SAG is going to be like, well, so you took the actors out, which means that every time you re-air it, those actors don't get residuals anymore, which is weird.
Well,
it's a can of worms.
my father played one of the guns in E.T. I know from whence I speak.
He doesn't get residuals.
That's tough.
It's an ethical can of worms.
It sure is.
That I don't.
I'm not denying that.
It almost kind of also just draws attention to
how bad
flaws
that episode
in your
was.
words.
Yeah.
Look, people in the chat are saying "fuck you, John." And I don't really know why. So let's wrap this episode up.
I said FYT in the chat, not FJC.
Because you said they never have anything good to say.
That's probably why. And turns out they didn't.
Also, are we sure that's not Gina typing that?
That's a good point. She's got her phone under the
I've always
desk.
got a little laptop right under here that's like, everyone on this panel is stupid and stinky except for Gina.
Hey, well, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. We're probably going to be still streaming on Friday. A little bit TBD, but we think we're going to still be here on Friday. Zach gave a confused face, so maybe not.
Zach doesn't even know where he is right now.
Check the schedule. Check us out at 2:00 on Friday. If we're not here, you can go about your day doing something else. But if we don't see you until next week, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure.
Put in the comments who you want to see die in Stranger Things.
Who are you rooting for? Whose death are you rooting for the most?
And throw in your
fuck them kids.
Late 80s song that you want to be the panacea to save
yeah.
somebody's life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.